So I've just fucked up. I'm appearing on a podcast at 7 p.m. PST, and I did the math the wrong way. And so I'm all dressed up with nowhere to go, which is great because I wanted to put together, I'm working on a new, hi guys, hey. I'm working on a new protocol, the Elevate Your State protocol, and this would be the video that's an accompaniment to that. And what is the Elevate Your, how is everyone? Hi. Don't forget to look. I just, on my, wherever my posts are shown, I just put out this t-shirt that I can't wait to print. That's called Ask Me About My Spaceship. And it's so that everybody who does the inner work and feels beyond this reality can start to feel at fucking home here. So going back to the point today, I want to talk about the Elevate Your State protocol. And the point of that really is to allow you to break through negative thought loops by recognizing that the thoughts are characteristic of your emotional state. And while they might have kicked it off, unless you allow your state to elevate, they'll perpetuate. So it's basically saying, like, don't try to chase thought with thought. Don't try to fight thought with thought. Drop the thought and elevate your state. So this is a very crude diagram. But the idea is you've got this like elevator, and let's say that this is your emotional state. When you are down or low, the thoughts that you have are on the down and low level. So these would be thoughts of like hopelessness and helplessness and stuckness. But if you are, and conversely, when you are in a great state, everything looks pretty fucking shiny and possible. And so with this protocol, I'm saying like, yo, sometimes we get stuck with these thoughts that we can't get to stop. And we experience them in varying degrees. I have a lot of like activity. And so whenever I'm fixated on something that's like not good, I'm really fixated, and there's all kinds of things going on. So if you have had like some traumatic experiences, your mind might like really hold on to things that it'll be afraid of happening later, and it might not be in the same vein. It just might be that fear response of feeling like helpless or unable to, like unsure what you'll be able to do or how you'll get around it. And what I'm kind of saying is like, that's okay. That's really natural. And so if you find yourself like with thoughts that you don't think are that helpful and they're keep going, like one, don't like feel bad about it, and don't like fight you, just kind of like hug you, because it's okay. It's like, it's okay that you're scared. It's okay that you're worried. It's okay that these things are on you. And I'd say like always start with a hug. And it's so silly, but often like that level of acceptance of just soothing you and hearing you can really start to break the pattern apart. And so let's use an example. So there's a lot of uncertainty right now in the world. And let's say that you are afraid of what's going to happen for you financially. Maybe your job was impacted by the pandemic restrictions, or perhaps we'll just use that example. So let's say that. So in this point in time, you know that you have, let's say, some kind of like bill upcoming, or maybe there's something that you're really afraid might happen and you won't have the financial resources to kind of like absorb the shock. And so in this moment, your mind is just running nonstop. Like, how am I going to manage that? What could I do? If I did this, what would happen? How would I explain to people that this is the state I'm in? I'm embarrassed that I don't have resources to kind of cushion this. How will I explain to my kids? What will I say to the people that I'm supposed to pay? Like, what am I going to do? And so there's like all of this activity. And it's not to say that this isn't a real concern. It's just acknowledging that when you are in that state, in that place, and your head is there, it's strain on you physiologically, but it's also not your best problem solving hat. So with this protocol, again, like, we want to start with a hug and say, like, it's okay that you're worried. Of course that you're worried. And even if you don't think that it's a thing to be worried about, even if you think that it's silly and you probably shouldn't, if you are, you are, and that's okay. So start by just like being there with you and seeing you. I see you're upset. It's okay. I'm upset. It's okay. The next step is we noticed, we hugged, and then we do something silly. And it can be scary to like insert playfulness whenever things seem very serious. Like, money can be serious, health can be serious, relationships we can perceive them as serious. It might feel it might seem like a bad idea to insert silliness, but that does help you kind of change your state to a place of safety, because whenever we're safe, that's natural. We just kind of like play. When we don't feel safe, we don't really feel like we don't feel like playing. And so in interrupting your negative thought loop, notice, hug, and then kind of say something silly like, a negative thought loop. I knew I'd see you again. And if you can say it like a cartoon, that's probably really helpful. And again, that just kind of like inserts a little levity into the situation and kind of helps loosen the grip that the fear has on you, because it's mental, but it's also physiological. And if you can, like, whatever area, like however it's easiest to start to like break it, do. But what I'm suggesting in this state thing is it can be kind of tough to address those fears mentally. All right, so going back from the top. So we've got our concern. How am I going to pay my bills? What if this happens? What if this person does this? Blah, blah, blah. So we've got our fear, and our mind is like, and usually there are several voices in there. And one voice is like, that's so silly. You shouldn't be worried about that. It doesn't do anything anyhow. And another voice is like, but if... Oops. If anybody has a good handout on hand puppets, could you send it to me? Because I've only got this one. And he's tired. He does all my shows. And so then you've got your other voice that's like, yeah, but what about this? And I don't know, like, how... And so you've got all these voices inside. And what I'm saying is, like, don't try to, like, corral them. It doesn't really help. Recognize that a lot of that is just because you feel really scared. And when you're scared, it's like, if your scared light is on, it attracts all your other scared thoughts. If your angry light is on, it'll attract all your other angry thoughts. And what we want to do is put you in a place of feeling safe and good, so that your higher thinking is available. You can problem solve so much better up here, and also it doesn't feel like death. And we know when we're here that thinking about it really doesn't make a difference, but if we can't stop, we can't stop. And so up here is what we're kind of like angling for. So you're in this place and you notice. 1, we noticed. 2, we hugged and we said, it's okay. I know you're scared. It's okay. It's okay. You're scared. 3, we added a joke. I'm suggesting say something like, a thought loop. That's negative. I knew I'd see you here again. And then the next step is to allow yourself to recognize that it's partly the intensity of it is just characteristic of the state. And so the state is scared. And what we want to do is put you up here in safety. And the way that you can do that is different for each person. And it might be different from moment to moment, but you can experiment until you find some things that work for you. What works for me is to imagine like a yellow glowing light, kind of like here. And so I'll bring all my energy from up here and I'll say like, no, go home, go to your home. Or you could turn on something that makes you laugh, or you could play a song. Maybe you have a pet. Maybe you can go play outside. If there's something physical in your environment that you can engage with, that you enjoy genuinely, like I like to fold towels sometimes. Maybe there's some art project. And really what you're doing there is just kind of like bringing you back down to base. bringing back down to base. And if this is something that you think is something you need to solve, like ultimately, because let's say some of our negative thought loops are like, we know that there's like nothing underneath them, but maybe some of them are really connected to things that we want to change. And maybe that's like leaving a relationship. Maybe that's I can't think of something right now, but like, so let's say you have like this whole list of things. What you can do is write it down on a piece of paper. So as part of the beginning, so we noticed, we hugged and said it was okay. We inserted a joke. And what you can do too is say like, look, this is a great idea of mine. I am so thankful that you don't shut the fuck up. You must have so much power there. That's great. That's really beautiful. And I'm going to work with that. And so I want to hear what you have to say, and let me write down what you want to solve. And so you can kind of just sketch really briefly. It's like, okay, I know I'm going to need money for this. I know I need to do this. I know I need to do this. And so now you're not ignoring, you're not denying that those things are in your reality. You're just saying like, hey, look, I can't do this right now, so I'm going to put it on this paper, and when I'm in my higher state, when I've elevated my state, I'm going to revisit these, because I know I think my best here, and I'll be able to see in a way that I feel empowered to take action. When we feel low, we generally feel stuck. We don't feel like we can't see our way out. So give yourself the freedom to revisit those concerns at a higher state, and you might find that like, hey, actually, I bet I could do this, and so that's not really a thing. And you know what? Actually, this I want to revisit again later. This I think I can solve by doing this. It's much easier up here. And yes, so see what I did there? I worked with me. I was saying like, Jaylee, it sounds like you're really concerned about that. I'm not going to tell you that's not something you should be concerned about. I'm going to take notes. I'm going to say you're concerned about all these things. That's great. Thank you for letting me know. And I'm going to hear you once I've rested a little. I sometimes call this the ice box. And this is helpful too if there's something that you think you should do in response to these that you also think you probably should not do. And maybe that's like order a cake, or maybe just always a good idea. Or maybe it's to say something that you think is like to someone, or maybe it's just basically saying like, yo, I'm not really sure if this is a great idea because I know I'm not feeling that fly. So I'll put it in my ice box and I will revisit this tomorrow. And if I still think it's a good idea, I give myself permission to act, whatever it is. Again, I am working with me, not fighting. So that's pretty much the gist of the protocol. You recognize whenever you are having you're stuck in a negative thinking pattern or just one particular thought loop, that it's possible that the intensity of it and the hopelessness is characteristic of how you feel, which is probably pretty not that great. And so what do? What's step one? Notice. What's step two? We hug and say, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. However you're acting, whatever you're saying, whatever you're doing, it's okay. And then if you have any notes you want to take to revisit in your high state, you do that. And then you look for things that allow for you to relax and feel better. And that's generally by taking your mind off the problem and putting it into something that feels good to you easily. So like maybe you go for a run, maybe you go for sleep, maybe you go for a nap, maybe you talk to a friend about some like memes, whatever it is. Like give yourself freedom to do things that feel good. I also really like to go on walks and like really try to see stuff, and so that could look like that generally looks like me running across the street to take pictures of flowers in people's yards. But it could also just be like, oh wow, like those are some beautiful lines on those trees, or like, hey, like I never saw a color like that. Like really try to see your world around you or listen in a new way. one of my fun, like, favorite games to play and redirecting the mind is to ask, like, what color is it really? And in that game, you say, like, okay, so I've got this color blue cup. Well, what color is it really? Well, it's not, like, just blue. It's kind of like, it's like a bathroom tile. It's like a not 80s, 90s movie bathroom tile blue. Okay, nailed it. And you can play that game with yourself until you start to feel better. And you might, as the more often you run this protocol, the more comfortable you'll be in knowing when it's safe for you to revisit those things. And you can do this all the time. Like I said, with and bringing my awareness to my body, it doesn't have to be an activity. It can just be a mantra. It can just be a different focal point. And that concludes the Elevate Yo State protocol. I'll be doing one of those, like, slides. I think it's like I don't know how many slides. It'll be like six or 8, like, with the steps spelled out. And you can look for that on my profile, or I'll also be sending it on patreon.com/habitbook to my patrons, probably with, they'll get this video and also the MP3 of this and some other cool things. Like, and by cool things, probably just be like some comments and jokes I think are funny. No, but sometimes I do summarize the articles, summarize the videos and articles. So that's all I have. Does anyone have a particular example or question that they would like to use here? Like, do you want to talk through anything that you're working through? At 7 p.m. PST today, which I thought was now, but it's not, for another 4 hours for me. I will be live on Facebook with a gentleman named Martin who wrote a book called The Curiosity Theory, and it's basically like how to use curiosity to have better communication and connection. And he has, I think there are 2 other guests in addition to me, and his structure for the podcast is really interesting. It's basically like, hey, like, we're all proficient at this. Like, how do you use transparent conversation? What's authentic communication to you? And we just kind of like talk about it and like just deepen our understanding and see it from different perspectives. So that should be pretty fun. And that would be available on my profile, on my Facebook. So facebook.com/Shaylee Lynn, Lyn Edwards, or you can message me and I'll send you the link. And then I also, thanks for coming. I also just released my first t-shirt design. Asked me about my spaceship, and someone did message me and say, like, okay, well, what is your spaceship? And here's the deal. I seem to be sensitive to things that you can't just see, like, beyond what you can see. And this is like a path that unfolds through me, and it's like information that I receive, and it's just a sensitivity to the non-physical. And there are many people who have this a lot, pretty much like everybody to varying degrees. And it's just kind of bringing it into our awareness and allowing for that to be a part of ourselves that kind of brings those gifts and that experience online. And what I want to do with this, I don't want to call it a movement, what I want to do with this song and dance is normalize that a little bit more, where it's okay for you to know things without being able to understand them and to feel things. And I also would like to really create space for there to be conversations around inner work, which is basically acknowledging that the way that we see the world is a function of what we believe to be true, and those beliefs that we have are generally picked up over time, either through our personal experience or our environment. And if you've been in good environments or healthy environments, or you've been relatively pain-free, the beliefs you have about the world are probably pretty helpful. But If you've been in experiences where you've felt pain, or maybe you landed into a neighborhood where there was lack in poverty, or lack in resources or love, or etc. Those beliefs might still be affecting how you're interacting with the world and the experience that you're having, and they're all retoolable. You can kind of like change them, and it just takes time. And as your expectation of your experience changes, and your understanding of who you are changes, and how you add meaning to the world changes, like your life changes. And that's sort of like when self-development people say, like, you know, like, change how you think and then change what you see. That's kind of like what it is. And a lot of people I know have developed that practice intuitively. It's just sort of come to them over time, and there is now like a proliferation of that, and I'm seeing like that those conversations sort of bleed into environments where everything is sort of physically focused when we're talking about stuff outside, rather than our awareness of our thoughts, or our awareness of our feelings, or our awareness of ourself. And both experiences are valid and natural. And then I'm just like to add a little bit more support for the people who have the inner space practice, because it can be disorienting whenever it's a very familiar and real thing to you, and the people around you can't really see it or validate it. Throughout my own process, I remember having conversations with my family where I'm saying like, hey, I'm doing this because of this, and they're like, girl, you crazy, you lost your mind. And really, like, a lot of the inner work is losing your mind. You are losing beliefs in your mind, thoughts in your mind that don't serve you or don't help you. And that's a totally natural and beautiful thing to explore and update. And that's kind of like what the spaceship movement is about. Spaceship song and dance, excuse me. We're saying like, yo, it's okay, like, you're proficient on the inside. Let's cheers to it. Hey, girl. That's all I have for today. I'll be releasing a protocol probably today or tomorrow. Thank you so much for being here. Does anyone have anything they would like to say? Add, topic requests, favorite colors? I know there's a little bit of a delay, so I'll pause, but does anybody have something that they've already found to be helpful or useful to them in breaking thought patterns or negative loops? Because I know a lot of people are very like practiced in that space too, and there might be some good ideas in the crowd, and I just want to make sure that if you'd like to share those, you can, or you can DM them to me, and I'll see if it's something that I can like work into what I'm offering. Yeah, true that. I don't know if you're saying you are now, or if that's one of your strategies, but either way, yes. And it seems like good ones. Crying was a big way, like a big gateway for me to become comfortable in the present. I noticed that there was just like a lot of stuff there that I had been hesitant to feel, and if you've had like a lot happen at once, it kind of makes sense to be uncomfortable to feel, but you can, and allowing crying to be part of your toolkit, kind of like it works. Steady clouds. I love stains. Split twist, like world crashes, plot twist. I'm gonna read that. I have to make sure I read these in the YouTube videos. The comments don't show. So the suggestions or the additions were crying. I love staying split twist, which means like world crashes, plot twist. Throw your arms in the air. And the other idea is studying clouds. Those are all great. Thank you. All right. I love you guys.